When you think of company towns, old company towns, you might think of the Industrial Revolution or coal miners or these old dilapidated buildings that can be seen all across America, just abandoned, left behind, scraps of a thriving city that once was. But company towns haven't been a thing for quite some time, and there's a reason for that. It's because they're rife with corruption and exploitation. However, these days, company towns are making a comeback. What would that look like? Say, for example, you wanted to come buy some kerosene for your lamp at night. So you'd come on down to the company general store and you'd pump the kerosene out. If that's, I don't know if that's what they did, but anyways, you'd get it and then you'd go to pay for it, but you wouldn't use US dollars. You would use what is known as scrip. This is the company's own currency. Interestingly enough about scrip, it's not actually worth the same as a US dollar. It's worth about 75 cents of a US dollar at the time. So these workers were making less than what the United States currency was even valued at. You see, workers back then didn't have credit cards like we have today, but they could still accrue debt. If you didn't have enough company scrip to go into that general store and buy what you need, it's fine. You can just put it on scrip credit. People started doing this a lot. People started to get in with the sharks. But who are the sharks? Well, there's no one governing the entire company town except for the company. Now you can see how this makes it easy for a company to start exploiting its workers. It became feudalism. See, the houses that these workers lived in were provided by the company for the workers to live in. The workers don't own it. The workers aren't paying to own it. They're just paying rent to live there and be able to work for the company. They don't work there, they have to leave. Now people started accruing massive amounts of scrip debt, which turns into workers working purely for the privilege just to be able to work for a company to pay off a debt in some arbitrary company currency. These towns started to fall off as people realized just how exploitative they were. And what we're left with today are just the remnants, things that you can find online, old dilapidated buildings, wells, old stores, things like that. But there's a reason that company towns didn't work, and it's because it doesn't work. In general, most of these companies, these company towns, were built far removed from everything, out in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't make sense to have your coal miner commute 8 hours one way to come mine coal for a day and go home. So what these companies decided to do was build their own entire town. It just makes sense. They would have things like their own general store. They would have their own tiny little post office. They would have their own tax and governing system. They were essentially completely like separate states that would just be operated by the owners of the company. Now often, if you were a worker at one of these company factories, you'd be in a tiny little 6x6 room hoping your roof doesn't fall off. Meanwhile, the owners of the company, the executives, would live in nicer houses, something that looked like this. Now, it was possible for these workers to move up in rank. And what that means is you can become one of the bosses, which then you are paid to push the other workers to show up on time, work later, do whatever they're told. You're essentially an enforcer more than you are a boss. So company towns haven't been around for quite some time. Companies have tried to do company town sort of things. Apple headquarters, it's got everything you need. Basically, you'd never have to leave. But they haven't done the actual town thing where they buy land, build houses, schools, churches, police departments, whatever it is. They haven't done that in a long time. But what would it look like today? Well, it probably looks something like this. You have a small apartment. These things are just planned out, one blueprint, almost 3D printed houses. They're built at an incredible rate. Everyone gets one, and this is where you live. But everything in the company town is still owned by the company, leaving the same exact problems so that they can once again repeat. Now, Nevada wants to allow company towns without saying that. They're calling them innovation zones. It is its own governing body. It has its own laws, its own taxes. Essentially, it's like its own little country, little county inside of Nevada. You just need $250 million to get it. And so they'd probably print something like these houses out. Everyone would live local and nearby. And it seems like a more modern version of the same thing. And hopefully we've learned enough so that we could not repeat those same worker labor exploitation violation sort of stuff. It just seems like these innovation zones are going to be a complete repeat of everything we've already seen, except now, instead of calling it a worker town or company town, it's just called an innovation zone. So imagine, instead of one company making a town, it's multiple companies colluding together to own a town. What do you think could go wrong there? So Nevada, I don't really know what you're thinking. Let me show you the FAQ on their website where they try to rationalize why they're good. So now that I've shown you a little bit about what company towns used to be, let me show you the actual website for Nevada and their innovation zones. So as you can see, this is the actual official website. It's called innovationzonefacts.com. I'm just gonna cut to the bottom real quick because there's an FAQ, and one of these questions is an innovation zone a company town? And they say, no, an innovation zone will be comprised of a wide range of businesses and organizations doing business in the innovation zone. Not all of these will be affiliated with the developer. For innovation zones are not created for the exclusive purpose of any one company or group, but as an incubator for a broad range of innovation. Let me tell you how they plan to govern this innovation zone, because again, this will have its own laws, rules, and regulations inside the state of Nevada, so they're free to do pretty much whatever they want there. So this is their plan. The state of Nevada picks one person, and then the company, the innovation zone companies or whatever, they elect 2 people. So you have 3 people total governing this entire operation, 2 coming from the interests of private business and 1 coming from the interest of the state. And so you can see how they're trying to balance it to make sure nothing gets out of hand there. So that's their plan. 3 people, 1 from the state, 2 from the companies, and that'll make sure it's nice and fair and balanced for everyone. The goal of this type of innovation is to create jobs, draw investment, and create opportunity. 2 big benefits will come in the early stages: construction to build the innovation zone, and then revenue to local vendors and businesses from that activity. Later on, the businesses and operations located in the innovation zone will attract permanent, high-paying jobs to the area. Maybe. It's nice to think about. Oh, here we go. Why is it necessary to create a separate form of government for the innovation zone? Unlike our traditional towns and counties, an innovation zone is designed specifically as an incubator or technology development. A similar example is the development of Disney World in Florida. A traditional town or city lacked both the expertise and resources to properly support a unique undertaking of that size and complexity. The Reedy Creek Improvement District was formed with much of the same authorities and duties as the local government usually has, but without the burden on local communities. I like how they do the nice little 1-2 flip there by saying, us creating our own completely separate form of government doesn't burden the local people here. Don't worry. Are you serious? It's probably better that you go to the local people and give them the resources that they need and go through their process so people can have due process. Because think about this. If you live in the innovation zone, you don't even get to elect the people running the government you live in. 3 people elected without anyone that lives there's input. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for you. Let me know if you enjoyed today's different style of video, like going out and filming. I really like this stuff, color grading, shots. I like this stuff. It just takes a lot of time, and I can't post as many videos doing this. And so if you enjoy it, I would really appreciate it if you let me know. I'm working on improving it. If you want to see some behind-the-scenes stuff, I'll post that over on Patreon, so you can go support me there. And then leave a like if you did, and subscribe if you want to see me take on the corporate world some more and break it apart so you know what they're trying to do to manipulate you. I think that's all I have to say for now, and I'll see you guys in the next one.